afternoon. I hope you guys are doing well. So we will be solving questions related to English literature. Now they are not related to 1 year only. There are a lot of questions that I have combined together. So it's not from one particular year but from number of years that we are going to solve the questions related to English literature. I will be waiting for 1 minute or 2 minutes for the students to join in, and then we will be solving the questions. Till then, you guys who all have joined, just look at the first question. We'll be solving this one. I'm waiting for the other students to join in. ठीक है. Okay, so now let us start our class. Let us discuss the first question that is there in front of you. So the first question is, which of the following statements best describes T.S. Eliot's assertion that Shakespeare's Hamlet is an artistic failure? Which of the following statement tells that T.S. Eliot was right in saying that Shakespeare's Hamlet is an artistic failure? Hamlet's emotion is not adequately objectified. Hamlet's feelings far overweight the release of his emotions. Hamlet's obsession should have been within representational limits, and Hamlet's indecisiveness shows the steady progress of the action. Hello Himanshu, what should be the right answer? सही आंसर क्या होगा? हैमलेट जो वर्क है इसको टी.एस. एलियट ने आर्टिस्टिक फेलियर कहा था. क्यों कहा है आर्टिस्टिक फेलियर? Why is this work called as the artistic failure? Okay, so let us see the right answer. The right answer would be 1. Hamlet's emotion is not adequately objectified. So objective correlative जब हमने पढ़ा था, so we talked how Macbeth is a better work that Shakespeare wrote rather than Hamlet, because there is no correlative to showcase the emotions, isn't it? So 1 is the right answer. From among the following, identify 2 correct statements in Johnson's criticism of Shakespeare. His Athenians are not sufficiently Greek and his kings are not completely royal. He sacrifices virtue to convenience and is more careful to please than to instruct. He adheres to strict chronology and gives to one age or nation only its own customs and opinions. He sacrifices reason, property and truth to pursue even a poor and a barren quibble. Yes, Anamika. Next का आंसर दो. Okay, so B and D only. B and D only. So the right answer would be 4. The right answer would be 4. That is B and D only. Samuel Johnson, in his work Preface to Shakespeare, that came out when in 1765, which is a classical document when it comes to English literary criticism, puts forth that Shakespeare's works has some faults and some excellences. So some excellences and some defects are there. Johnson contends that Shakespeare's play lacked the moral objective that he could not include within them. Shakespeare sacrifices virtue to convenience and is much more careful to please than to instruct the audience. Shakespeare is widely drawn to wordplay and equivocations that Johnson identify as another flaw in his works. So वो quibble ways पे ज़्यादा ध्यान देते हैं as compared to the broad ways of writing. Okay, this is what we see when it comes to criticism of Johnson. And he has talked about how Antony and Cleopatra is a work which is only related to quibble rather than anything else. Now let us solve this question. Okay, inane gaudiness, this is a phrase that is used in connection with neoclassicism by which writer, which theorist or which classical writer used the term inane gaudiness. Is it William Wordsworth, T.S. Eliot, Matthew Arnold or S.T. Coleridge? Sorry, or it is T.S. Eliot, sorry. Is it Wordsworth, Coleridge, Arnold or Eliot? Who used this term inane gaudiness? Inane gaudiness. So the right answer is 1. It is not C, Anamika. It is not C. It is 1. So it is Wordsworth and his followers, particularly Keats, who found the prevailing poetic diction in the 18th century as one of the most important thing. But he said that gaudiness and inane ways of writing, matlab unsuited expressions, should not be used in the work. It could not be for them the language of feeling. Wordsworth accordingly sought to bring the language of poetry back to the common speech. So he said that it is important to talk about common things rather than using too gaudy statements. It is okay to talk about those things that are clearly known to all the people. So it is common people, common language that is more important than anything else. Okay, so Wordsworth would be the right answer. Then we have the next question. Okay. So what is the meaning of ज़ाउद्दीन सरदार's statement? So he is a writer जो कि culture studies के writer है. Culture studies started as a dissenting intellectual tradition outside academia, dedicated to exposing power in all its cultural forms. But it has now become a discipline and a part of academic establishment and power structure. He is here talking about devaluation, displacement, institutionalization and disascension of culture studies or culture. किसके बारे में बात हो रही है? किस चीज के बारे में यहाँ बात करी जा रही है? ज़ाउद्दीन सरदार gave one statement. He is here talking about 3 would be the right answer, institutionalization. That culture studies now is becoming like an institution. Culture for us is now an institution that we follow. We started to talk about, we all talk about the disseminating or the spreading of knowledge, the intellectual tradition outside the academic world also, and we are connecting culture study, exposing its power to other disciplines and other domains as well. The next question. In which of the following novel by J.G. Farrell you see the experiences of a polio victim? Is it Troubles, The Singapore Grip, The Lung, The Hill Station? The Hill Station. This again is a very easy question. J.G. Farrell, of course, is an important writer also. So the right answer would be 3. We have the book, the novel called as The Lung. The Lung is a novel by J.G. Farrell, who was an Irish-born English author, and he drew on his polio infection, his own polio infection, and then he writes a book about the polio agony, the depressing picture of a person who is who is suffering from this disease. Then who spoke the following lines to whom? This time also ऐसे बहुत सारे questions आए थे. So we have, oh look upon me sir and hold your hands in benediction over me. No sir, you must not kneel. Is it Kent to Lear, Cordelia to Lear, Goneril to Lear, or Regan to Lear? So who said this line? Who said this line? Who speaks this? Oh, look upon me, sir, and hold your hands in benediction over me. No, sir, you must not kneel. Okay, so you think that it is D. So second would be the right answer. It is Cordelia to Lear. वैसे भी if you read the work, so 3 daughters में से I think इतने प्यार से Cordelia ही बोलेंगी. What do you think? Do you think Goneril and Regan would say something like that? So I'm pretty sure सब लोग इन दोनों में ही confuse होंगे. But यहाँ पे we have Cordelia saying these lines to Lear. Anamika, why don't you share the link with other students? इतना कम स्ट्रेंथ क्यों है? एंड प्लस आई एम ऑल्सो फेसिंग प्रॉब्लम. मेरे टैब पे भी आई कैन नॉट फाइंड द लाइव chat that is going on. So maybe some students have not received the link till now. So why don't you share it with your friends if it is possible? Okay. The next one. You have the characters and the novels. You have Kate, Florence, Mrs. Havisham and Agnes. Novels like Great Expectations, Nicholas Nickleby, David Copperfield and Dombey and Son. Okay, Anamika, got it. Chalo. Let us study. So we have characters and novels, and these are the works by Charles Dickens. So Kate, Florence, you have Mrs. Havisham and Agnes, and Great Expectations, Nicholas Nickleby, David Copperfield and Dombey and Son. So the right answer would be 2 and you are right here, Anamika. So Kate Nickleby, she is a character from Nicholas Nickleby. She is the youngest sister in Charles Dickens' works Nicholas Nickleby, and she is a docile character in the Dickensian women world. Florence Dombey, she is a daughter of Paul Dombey. So Dombey and Son. Mrs. Havisham is one of the most important character when it comes to Great Expectations. Then Agnes Wakefield, she is the daughter of Mr. Wakefield, also David's wife in Charles Dickens' classical work, David Copperfield. Okay. Then this work, The Childhood of Jesus, The Go-Between, Brideshead Revisited, The Catcher in the Rye. Then you have L.P. Hartley, Evelyn Waugh, J.M. Coetzee and Silenga. Again easy. The Childhood of Jesus, The Go-Between, Brideshead Revisited, The Catcher in the Rye. So Namika says B and 2 is the right answer. This is a very easy question. You have The Child of Jesus. This is a work written by J.M. Coetzee. Go-Between by Hartley. Brideshead Revisited by Evelyn Waugh and The Catcher in the Rye. This is a work by J.D. Salinger. Let us raise the standard of the question. थोड़ा सा difficult करते हैं. Okay. So which of the following are correctly matched? Identify the ones which are correctly matched. Barbara Christine, The Race for Theory, Alfred W. Consby, Unhiding the Hidden, Paul Carter, Naming Place, then Graham Hugan, Ecological Imperialism, and Thomas B. Macaulay, Minutes on Indian Education. Yes, J.M. Coetzee 2 times Booker Prize as well. Child of Jesus is a trilogy, right? Next बताओ. This is of course one of the most easy question again. ये बहुत बार हम कर चुके हैं क्योंकि क्या होगा इसका आंसर? And 𝐃𝐫𝐤𝐬𝐡𝐭𝐢 got the Nobel Prize as well in 2003. In 2003 में. That is also one important piece of information. He has written works like Dusk Lands, Slow Man, Disgrace. Okay, so 2 would be the right answer. 2 would be the right answer. We have A, C and E that are correctly matched. A, C and E are correctly matched. इसके अंदर ये वाला वर्क बहुत बार पेपर में आता है, Ecological Imperialism. It's a very very important work. And I would like you to read a little bit more about this. Alfred Konsby ने ये work लिखा है. Please read this work. Okay. Then okay, थोड़ा सा difficult करते हैं. ठीक है. Let us discuss this work. Which assertions are not true? Which assertions are not true in the context of culture studies? Which of the assertions are not true when it comes to culture studies? Popular culture means a set of practices and beliefs and objects that embody the most broadly shared meanings of the social system. Dominant culture signifies the invisible aspect of our practices and attitudes. Residual culture is that part of the old cultural practices that remain in the traces in modern culture. The discipline is comparatively new and is opposed to rigid methods associated with traditional Marxist approaches. It discourages the audibility of women in public spaces. And then you have the options. Is E and B not true? A, E, B, C, C, E. Which of the following is not true? Not true related to culture studies. So, dominant culture signifies the invisible aspects of our practices and attitudes. Dominant culture in culture studies refers to culture norms, values, as well as beliefs that are widely shared and accepted within a society. Right? It is not invisible aspects, rather the most prominent aspects. And so statement B is wrong and statement E is also wrong. Why is it wrong? Because it says that women should be should be voiceless, should be not audible when it comes to public spaces. So this is also completely wrong, because you have the culture studies that is definitely going to give voices to the marginalized communities, including women as well. So E and B, E and B statement, these are the statements that are wrong. So 1 would be the right answer. You need to find out the assertions that are wrong when it comes to culture studies. Okay. ठीक है. Then Discordia concourse is a phrase that was used by Johnson in his Life of 𝐾𝐞𝐤𝐬, which implies a term used to refer to ironic inversion of residual ideology in a text, a combination of two philosophically similar discourses, a term used to refer to diminishing metaphor, a combination of dissimilar images, a combination of contradictory ideas and concepts. Okay, Kiran, what would be the right answer? Discordia concords. This is a phrase that Johnson used in his work, The Life of 𝐾𝐞𝐢. This is also a work where he talked about the metaphysical school of poets. This term implies what? A term used to refer to the ironic inversion of residual ideology in the text, the combination of two philosophically similar discourses, a term used to refer to the diminishing metaphor, combination of two dissimilar images or contradictory ideas and concepts. So Kiran thinks it should be B. So 1 would be the right answer. 1 would be the right answer, that is D and E are right. D and E are right. Let us read this. So a combination of dissimilar images. This is the core meaning of what Johnson saw as a technique of writing. When two contrary ideas come together, you create something new, something unexpected, and this is what he said would create a good meaning and a good effect. And E, a combination of contrary ideas. The deliberate juxtaposition of two opposing ideas will create a thought-provoking image, which everyone would remember for a longer period of time, something like defamiliarization, right? Then a term used to refer to ironic inversion of residual cultures. This is not related, right? And the other statements are also not right. D and E are right. D and E. So 1 would be the right answer. 1 would be the right answer. I think 2023 का question है ये. I'm not sure, but 2023. Okay. This time also a lot of questions were asked from humanism, anthropocentrism. So this becomes important again. Choose the two statements which aptly describe Renaissance humanism. It prepared man for the eternal life. It was anthropocentric. It was more theological philosophy. It rejected the distinction between noumenal as well as phenomenal world. It brought immense revival of interest in the classical literature and thought. So, Renaissance humanism क्या था? What do you mean by Renaissance humanism? Renaissance humanism. It talks about, or it prepares man for eternal life. It talks about what is man and how they are anthropocentric. Then it was theological, मतलब God के perspective से ज़्यादा दिया गया था. It rejected the distinction between noumenal as well as phenomenal world, and it brought immense revival of the classical literature. So the right answer would be what? 1. 1 would be the right answer. B and E are the right statements. So it was anthropocentric. So Renaissance humanism placed a strong emphasis on human as very potential person, as the person who had a lot of reason and individuality. It celebrates human achievements in field of art, literature as well as in science. It also brought immense revival in the interest of classical works, that were Roman works, Roman philosophers, Greek philosophers के work के साथ, right? It prepared man for eternal life. This is not a true aspect, right? It was more theological. This is also not entirely true. It was not entirely secular. And it rejected the distinction between noumenal and phenomenal world. This statement is closely associated with philosophical movements of German idealism, but not with human Renaissance. From Renaissance humanism. So the right answer would be B and E. 1 would be the right answer. Right? So this is again important. Next. What statements are true about liberal humanism? इनमें से कौन सी statement सही है about liberal humanism? Language is not constitutive. There is no fixed and absolute truth, no unalterable essence at all. Our mind is an empty state, and all inquiry into artistic phenomena is objective. It is language that shapes the reality and not the other way round. Truth is not provincial. Truth is not provincial. Which of the following statements are true about liberal humanism? So what is liberal humanism? So the right answer, the right statements are C and E. The right statements are C and E. Our mind is not an empty state or empty vessel, and an inquiry into artistic phenomena is objective. Our mind is an empty vessel like a tabula rasa, right? So it is an empty vessel, और जैसे जैसे हमारे पास क्या आते हैं, experiences होते हैं life में, we get to learn things. All inquiry is objective in nature. This is true. John Locke also talked about it. And the truth is not provincial. So language is not constructive. The statement is not the statement that language is not constructive is false, because language is constructive to human beings. Language is how you speak. Language makes you identify the things. Language को की वजह से ही हम बात कर पाते हैं. It is arbitrary, yes, but it helps us to communicate. So definitely ये जो statement है ये false हो गई. There is no fixed and absolute truth, no unalterable essences at all. This statement aligns more with post-structuralist. And our mind is an empty state and all inquiry into artistic phenomena is objective. This becomes true. There is language that shapes the reality and not the other way round. This statement again aligns with post-structuralism more. And liberal humanism generally believe that truth is not provincial. Okay. Then you have to match list 1 with list 2. Nigel Dennis. Then you have George Orwell, Mark Schroeder and Nietzsche. List 2, these are the works. You have Technique as Discovery, The Gay Science, Cards of Identity, Down and Out in Paris and London. So you need to match Dennis, Orwell, Mark Schroeder as well as Nietzsche and their works. So George Orwell has written Down and Out in Paris and London, isn't it? So B with 4. B with 4. But then हमारे पास you have A option there and you have second option as well. So last के दोनों options आप cut कर सकते हो. Then you have Nietzsche who has written the work The Gay Science. The Gay Science. So D with 2. D with 2 and here you have D with 1. So right answer क्या हो जाएगा? 1 will be the right answer. So we have Nigel Dennis, who is known for his satirical novels. Cards of Identity is one of his most famous work. George Orwell has written both fiction and non-fiction works. Down and Out in Paris and London, which is an autobiographical account of his own experiences with poverty. Mark Schroeder, who is a literary critic, has written the work Techniques as Discovery. It's a well-known essay in literary criticism. Friedrich Nietzsche, who is a German philosopher, has written The Gay Science, which is a major philosophical work. So the right answer would be 1. The right answer would be 1. Okay, so 1 would be the right answer. Okay, work and characters. Charles Dickens' Martin Chuzzlewit, G.B. Shaw's Doctor's Dilemma, Thomas Hardy Test of the D'Urbervilles and T.S. Eliot's The Family Reunion. Then you have Domberfield, Harry, Sir Ralph Bloomfield and Mrs. Gap. Hello, good afternoon. What would be the right answer? Charles Dickens' Martin Chuzzlewit, G.B. Shaw's The Doctor's Dilemma, Thomas Hardy's Test of the D'Urbervilles and T.S. Eliot's The Family Reunion. These are the works and यहाँ पे you have the characters. Okay, I'll disclose the right answer. So 4 is the right answer. You have Martin Chuzzlewit, जिसके अंदर कौन है करेक्टर? मिसेस गैप करेक्टर है यहाँ पे, right? Then you have J.B. Shaw's The Doctor's Dilemma, where you have the character Sir Ralph Bloomfield. He is a wealthy art patron in the work The Doctor's Dilemma, and he is the central figure of the play, who is also talking about ethical dilemma, which makes it a theme also. ये ethical dilemma of medicine, science, इसके बारे में बात करते हैं. Implications of wealth and privilege as well. Thomas Hardy, who has written Test of the D'Urbervilles, there is this word Abraham, the character Abraham that is there. Abraham D'Urberville, who is the father of Tess, the girl that dies at the end. She is hanged, and who is watching this girl? You have her lover and her little sister, who at the end are watching, and she is being hanged because of her misfortunes. Then T.S. Eliot, The Family Reunion, you have the character Harry Monk, who is the protagonist of The Family Reunion. He is again and again haunted with the guilt of his past. He seeks redemption of from his own crime. Then we have autobiography and the writers. Autobiography and the writers. My Second Innings, Justice for the Judge and Autobiography, My Country, My Life, and Through the Broken Glass. Through the Broken Glass. My Second Innings, Justice for the Judge and Autobiography, My Country, My Life, Through the Broken Glass. T.N. Sinha. Then you have 𝐾𝐫𝐬𝐧𝐥𝐸, Ranjan Goe, and Shanti Bhushan. So the right answer would be 2. 2 would be the right answer here. We have My Second Innings. This is a work by Shanti Bhushan. Then Justice for the Judge by Ranjan. Then you have My Country, My Life by L.K. Advani. Political former deputy prime minister है ये, और ये क्वेश्चन का ये हमारे पेपर का PYQ है. So this is something that is already been asked. I have not created this. And Through the Broken Glass, T.N. Sinha. Then you have this work, Half a Village. These are the works and these are the authors. River of Fire, Sunlight on a Broken Column, and Basti. These are Indian novels, right? Then you have list 2, Atiya Hussain, Rahi Masoom Raza. Then you have Intizar Hussain and Haider, Quarteen Haider. List 1 and list 2. So 3 would be the right answer. Half a Village is by Raza, Rahi Masoom Raza. It is a celebrated work exploring the dynamics of a village, so social life of a small village, socio-political situations. Then you have River of Fire. This is a work written by Quarteen Haider. It talks about history, it talks about identity, it talks about culture, and all of these things are explored together in the work, जो कि before independence के बारे में बात करते हैं. Then Sunlight on a Broken Column by Atiya Hussain, again an important work which talks about the experiences of changing India. Basti is by Hussain, Intizar Hussain. It's a very important Urdu novel that was written by him. Now, this work was also asked movie as well as how this movie was inspired. So, this movie that you have was inspired by a given novel and you need to match it. So, list 1 and list 2. Kai Poche, then Slumdog Millionaire, Makbul, and Ishaqzade. You have inspired by or adaptation of Macbeth by William Wordsworth, by Shakespeare, Macbeth by Shakespeare, Romeo Juliet by Shakespeare, 3 Mistakes of My Life by Chetan Bhagat, and Vikas Swaroop का work का novel जो है Q&A. So these are the novels and plays and works, and यहाँ पे आपकी movies हैं which you have to match. Okay, so list 1 and list 2. So 𝐾𝐫𝐢𝐬𝐡𝐭𝐢, this is a work that would be matched with, this is a work that would be matched with The 3 Mistakes of My Life by Chetan Bhagat. Then Slumdog Millionaire, it is taken from the novel by Swaroop called as Q&A. Maqbool is coming from the work of Shakespeare called as Macbeth. And then you have इशकज़ादे जो कि रोमियो जूलियट पे based है, again a work written by Shakespeare. Okay, so क्या आंसर होगा आपके पास? 3 would be the right answer. 3 would be the right answer. A match with 3, B match with 4, A match with 4, sorry, हाँ 3 के साथ, स्लमडॉग मिलियनेयर 4 के साथ, मैकबेथ के साथ, इशकज़ादे, हाँ ठीक है, ये राइट आंसर होगा. Okay, then you have list 1 which has the works, list 2 has authors. So the Nutmeg's Curse, Parables for a Planet in Crisis, Victor City, A Time Outside This Time, a novel, Translating Myself and Others. Translating Myself and Others. Then you have Amitav Kumar, Amitav Ghosh, Jhumpa Lahiri and Salman Rushdie. And these are the works: Nutmeg's Curse, Victor City, A Time Outside This Time and Translating Myself and Others. List 1, you have to match with the author. So 4th would be the right answer. The Nutmeg's Curse. This is a work that is written by Amitav Ghosh. He is the author of this historical narrative. It also deals with focusing on environmental issues also. Victory City by Salman Rushdie. Then you have A Time Outside This Time. It is a novel by Amitav Kumar, reflecting on the truth, memory and fiction. Translating Myself and Other. This is a self-expression work done by Jhumpa Lahiri. Jhumpa Lahiri. Then you have the concept or the term, and here definition. Definition. Okay. So you have His Heap of Rubble, Amritsar aa gaya hai, We Have Arrived in Amritsar. Then Roots and Lajwanti. Basically आप ऐसे के works भी कह सकते हो. These are the works and then you have the writers. यहाँ पे लिख लो, you have the writers and here you have the works. So His Heap of Rubble, Amritsar aa gaya hai, then Roots and Lajwanti. Partition works हैं ये सारे. भीषम सहनी, इस्मत चुगताई, then Rajendra Singh Bedi and Mohan Rakesh. You need to match the works. This is not the terms and the concept. ये गलती से print हो गया है. It should be work, partition works, and these are the writers. So His Heap of Rubble. This is a very significant modern Hindi literature का work जो किसने लिखा है? मोहन राकेश. It is associated, so he is associated with this work. Then Amritsar aa gaya hai, We Have Arrived in Amritsar. This is a work that is written by Bhisham Sahni. Okay, partition के बारे में story है. Roots is a work of an Urdu writer, very important Urdu writer, Ismat Chugtai. Right, then you have Lajwanti. This is another short story, 1947 partition के बारे में, women education, women abduction के बारे में ये work है. Right, this is a work written by Rajendra Singh Bedi. So these are all partition narratives. Okay, then chronology में set करना है. Arrange the works in the proper chronological order. J.G. Ballad's The Atrocity Exhibition, Donna Haraway's When Species Meet, Thomas Friedman's The World is Flat, Francis Fukuyama's End of History, William Gibson's Necromancer. There are works and you have to place them in the correct chronological order, and they are all very unknown works, not at all common. So Necromancer, which is a work by William Gibson, this was published in 1984. Then you have The End of History and the Last Man by Francis, that came out in 1992. The World is Flat by Thomas Friedman, 2005. When Species Meet, this is a work by Donna Haraway in 2008. Atrocity Exhibition by Ballard, this work came out in 1970. Right? So the correct chronological order would be, you have A, E, D, C, B, A, E, D, C and B. Okay. So we have second as the right answer. Second would be the right answer. And these are the dates in front of you. Now these are the important works that you will study a little bit more about all the works, and the dates also you will learn. Necromancer, ये work 2 बारी आ चुका है. Okay. Choose the correct order of the publication of Thomas Cyrill's work, History of French Revolution, Signs of the Time, Chartism, Occasional Discourse of the Nigger Question, Hero and Hero Worships, Hero and Hero Worships, Hero and Hero Worship. So the Victorian writer Thomas Cyrill, who is known as a sage writer also, he has written very important essays, and you need to place all of these works in the correct chronological order. You have History of French Revolution, Signs of the Time, Chartism, Occasional Discourse of the Nigger Question, Hero and Hero Worship. So you have the French Revolution, a history. Now this is a work जहाँ से Dickens ने अपना work, अपनी novel भी बहुत ज़्यादा, उसका historical references यही इसी work से लिया है. Okay. So we have this work that was published in 1837. Then Chartism in 1839. On Hero and Hero Worship, this work was published in 1841. Occasional Discourses on the Nigger Question, that was published in 1853. Therefore, 2 would be the right answer. B-A-C-E-D. Signs of Time रह गया ना. Signs of Time is a work that was published in 1829. It was an essay in the review called as Edinburgh Review. जो magazine थी Edinburgh Review था. So you have B-A-C-E-D. So second would be the right answer. Okay, then you have Assertion and Reason. Assertion says that Marxism makes no claim to universality. Postmodernism, Justin's totalizing frameworks. The correct answer would be what? That both A and R are correct, but R is not the correct explanation for A. Assertion says that Marxism, while that is aiming for a global understanding of the class struggles and historical materialism, does not inherently deny the possibility of universal truths or the application of its principles to different societies. Reason, postmodernism on the other hand, specifically rejects the idea of universal truths, grand narratives, totalizing frameworks. Postmodern क्या कहते थे? That we don't believe in grand narratives, we believe in petit narratives. Isn't it? Lyotard said it, na, that petit narratives होते हैं, grand narratives होते ही नहीं है. We don't believe in that. We don't believe in absolute truths also. Institutions also, they're all false. So, explanation सही नहीं है, अपने आप में ये सही है. Then, Toni Morrison's Beloved is based on the true story of a black slave woman. This was the first statement. The second statement says, Beloved is a novel about trauma of apartheid. In the following statements, you need to tell both in the light of the following statements. Are both correct? Both wrong? One correct? One wrong? So, what do you think? टॉनी मॉरिसन की जो बिलवेड है वो ट्रू स्टोरी पे बेस्ड है, एक ब्लैक स्लेव के बारे में, स्लेव वुमेन के बारे में. एंड बिलवेड इज अ नॉवल अबाउट ट्रॉमा ऑफ अपार्थाइड. So 3 is the right answer. Statement 1 is true, but statement 2 is false. So, okay, statement 1, Toni Morrison's Beloved was inspired by the true story and the name of the girl was Margaret Gardner. She was enslaved and उनके ऊपर ये story लिखी गई थी United States of America में 19th century के अंदर. To prevent her family from being returned to slavery, Gardner killed her younger daughter. So this is true. When it comes to statement 2, Beloved deals with the trauma of slavery, not apartheid. है ना, छोटा सा एरर था, ये गलत नहीं करना है. वो अपार्थाइड के साथ नहीं है रेजोनेट, बट स्लेवरी के बारे में बात कर रहा है. So apartheid was a system of racial segregation and discrimination that was seen in South Africa, whereas Beloved explores devastating impact of slavery in African American individuals and families in United States. So this is the difference. Okay, prose romances preceded the emergence of novel as a popular literary genre. Which texts among the following fall under the category of prose romance? So इनमें से कौन सा work एक prose romance work है? The Pilgrim's Progress and The Spectator, Urunuku and Fair Jilt, Pamela and Clarissa, Amelia and Ferdinand Count Phantom. Prose romance preceded, पहले prose romance आता है, फिर novel genre start हुआ था, novel as a literary genre. Which of the following can be considered as a prose romance? So, Urunuku and Fair Jilt. So, prose romance were very popular when it comes to 17th century and often they are talking about ironic heroic characters, exotic settings and fantastical elements were seen. Right? They were precursors of the novels. So, Pilgrim's Progress and The Spectator, they are examples of allegorical works and not prose romance. जो जैसे ही आपने Pilgrim's Progress देखा था, ये कट हो सकता था. Urunuku and the Fair Jilt is the correct one because it is talking about adventure, hero. Urunuku क्या बात कर रहा है? Urunuku becomes the first work which also talks about racial segregation also. ना black, white इनके बारे में भी बात की थी इस work ने. It also talks about slavery. It becomes the first work to talk about slavery also. You see the partner killing the wife and then the lover and then ultimately he is also killed. He is also shot, dead. So Urunuku, Aphra Behn का work है, a very very important work. Aphra Behn is also very important because Charles II के court में she was the spy also. She also is the first woman to write like this. The Rover is also her work and the Rover 1 and 2 part जो है the rack के बारे में जो बात करती है, the work, the Rover. This work is the comedy of manners, but when it comes to Urunuku and the Fair Jilt, these are the works that are prose romances. Pamela and Clarissa, epistolary novel है, so this is also not right. Amelia and Ferdinand Count Phantom, they are sentimental novels and picaresque novels, but prose romance कौन से हो गए? Urunuku and the Fair Jilt. ठीक है? Okay, so ये क्वेश्चन करते हैं. I hope this is visible. Assertion and reason का ही क्वेश्चन है. Toni Morrison and Adrienne Rich have contributed to a distinct style of writing. Feminism, Adrienne Rich observes, is a field where subjectivity and politics have come together in the most natural way. In the most natural way. So here both A and R are true, but R is not the correct explanation. This one was a very very easy question. So इसका ये reason नहीं है. दोनों का writing style same है, इसका ये reason नहीं है, but अपने आप में ये दोनों statements बिल्कुल true हैं. Okay, then ठीक है. Who has given the definition of minor literature? So this concept minor literature, ये किसने दिया है? What does aptly define minor literature? So this concept was given by 𝐾𝐫𝐬𝐧𝐥𝐨𝐚𝐝 and Guattari. What can be termed as minor literature? Deconstruction of material reality, deterritorization of language, heteroglossia or meta-narratives. Again, this is important because they can also ask you कि minor literature term किसने दिया है. So you need to know that it is 𝐾𝐫𝐬𝐧𝐥𝐨𝐚𝐝, ये इनका concept है. And according to 𝐾𝐫𝐬𝐧𝐥𝐨𝐚𝐝, the concept aptly defines minor literature as how you will study a work, deterritorization of language. Deleuze and Guattari describes minor literature as a literary production that is created by a minority within major language. So minor sect जो major language के अंदर होगा उससे हम क्या बोलते हैं? Minor literature, that is emphasizing on deterrorization of language. Deleuze defines minor literature according to three main characteristics. What are these three characteristics? We have deterritorization of language. How will you study language? Not major but in a minority manner, small sect of people के लिए. So it will be deterritorization of language. Secondly, political element, and finally collective value. Minor literature was described by him, and here he gave the example of Kafka's work also. So this becomes important. ठीक है? So this was it. These are the number of questions that I had for today. There is one question that I'll give you as your homework, which is again a very easy question. The term simulacra in postmodernistic discourse is about what? Absence of vivid representations of reality, artistic produced realities dubbed as authentic, a rejection of modernistic view of reality, a gap between the perception and reality, the psychological interplay at the level of subconsciousness. Right? So this is your homework. Again a very easy work. Baudrillard का concept है simulacra, and you need to tell me what exactly is the meaning of the word. Okay. So with this I'll wind up. Thank you. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next class. Bye bye and enjoy, and if you have any doubts you can write that in the comment section.